Hey guys, it's Drea. Today I have for you a products that suck video. Yay! It's another disappointing products video. I'll link to a bunch of other ones I've done on my channel if that's the kind of thing you're into. It's been a long time since I've done a disappointing products video, or regrets, if that's what you want to call it. I just recently did a huge declutter of my entire collection. If you've been following my channel, you've seen a ton of those up already. But yeah, whenever you do a declutter, it's also a really good time to do a product regrets video because usually there's some reason that you're getting rid of stuff. So I'm going to talk about this stuff. Now, one thing that I didn't declutter, I haven't even hauled it yet. It's like so new to me, but I already hate it. So I'm gonna talk about it now. So it's this. This is the Pure Cosmetics Visionary palette. I recently picked this up and I've used it a couple times, and it's enough times to know that I think this palette is garbage. I'm really super actually disappointed. Like, sometimes you say disappointed, you really just mean, this stuff didn't work out for me, but I had such high hopes for this that I am actually legitimately very disappointed that it didn't work out for me. This palette looks gorgeous. Like, look at these shades. When I swatched it in store, they're all so like creamy and beautifully metallic. I couldn't resist. Like, I wasn't even planning on buying more makeup, but I couldn't resist this palette just based on swatches. So there's some swatches of the shades. As you can see, they swatch really beautifully. If you take a look at that gold there, I think we're starting to see what the crux of the real problem is. See how chunky that is? This is so chunky because these eyeshadows are actually like very, very ultra creamy. They're almost like a wet cream consistency. And I think that's really where the issue is. They don't blend very well when you first put them on. They don't even really go on the eye the way they swatch because you're using a brush, you're not using your finger. The brush doesn't really pick this up very well. And they do not last. Like, you guys know, I am diehard for my MAC Painterly. It works so well as an eyeshadow primer for me. I never skip that step ever. This stuff creased within half an hour on my eyes. So that's gonna tell you something. Like, I almost never have creasing issues because I use a primer. I use MAC Painterly all the time. I can't even remember the last time I had creasing issues with an eyeshadow. So for this stuff to crease like within such a short period of time was the first red flag. And then ultimately they just do not last. They fade throughout the day. And I recorded a video recently where it was like the end of my workday and you could kind of see this on my eyes, but it had definitely faded and the colors end up just getting very muddy. But again, it fades very quickly too. It's not like it fades after 10 hours. It fades after like a couple hours. So I am super disappointed in this. This is definitely going to be getting returned because it's a very recent purchase, so I still have my receipt. So I'm going to get my money back on that one, but I totally do not recommend getting that. Totally forgot at the beginning of this video to tell you what I'm wearing on my face today. This is actually the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette. I literally just a few minutes ago filmed this look in a palette bingo. That is already up on my channel if you want to go watch it. But this was a first impression of these eyeshadows, but they're like beautiful. Okay. Here's another eyeshadow palette I do not enjoy. This is the ColourPop Golden State of Mind palette. I just posted my eyeshadow declutter and I did declutter this. So yeah, a lot of you are not surprised. In that video, I'm going to give you a close up because I want you to see. In that video, I pointed this out as well. You can see around all the pans how it looks wet. Like, look closely. You could see there's like wetness around each of those circular pans. So that is whatever oil they've added to this formula leaking out into the cardboard packaging. And so many of you in that, like in the comment section, said either it did the same to me or I've seen other people say that, and I literally had no idea until I opened it up in that declutter that I was doing that, because ultimately I haven't been using this palette. I didn't enjoy it after buying it. It's all chunky glitter, and I could go for an all metallic palette. Like, I don't necessarily need to have a cohesive palette every time I buy a palette because, you know, I have enough eyeshadows I can grab for other things too. Ultimately, if the product is, like, if it blows your mind, it would be totally fine. But this, like, the formula is so weird, especially on some of these more, like, you have to see this up close. Look at how chunky that is, that it's almost like falling apart when you swatch it. There's the swatch of that one. When eyeshadows are that chunky, they just do not go on the eye properly. Even if you're gonna wet it, sometimes that can help, but for the most part, they're just, chunky eyeshadows just don't really work all that well. And it's not like it's a chunky glitter. Chunky glitter is a different animal altogether because you can use a glitter glue and it just gives you that beautiful glitter all over your eye. This is not glitter. This is like a wet formula that is separating when it picks up. And on a brush, it never picks it up properly. You have to use your fingers, and even then, it really doesn't show up all that well. So this was the Sephora exclusive ColourPop palette. I don't even know if ColourPop has this on their website, if they ever did or if they still do, but I know it went on clearance at Sephora, which for ColourPop, like the ColourPop Sephora coming together thing was a big deal. Like I can remember it being all over Instagram. People were super excited, but it really just flopped. And I don't know like how much say ColourPop had and how much say Sephora had in that like coming together of the two brands, but whoever was involved in that board meeting that put together this palette, they need to be. Here's a little bit of a personal preference, but I'm gonna include this anyway, just for those of you that might have the same kind of skin tone as me. This is the Too Faced Sweethearts Bronzer in Sweet Tea. So many people love this. If you love it, like I always say in any one of these regrets videos, keep on loving it. I'm glad that you love it. That means you didn't waste your money like I did. But on me, there's something really strange about the tone of this. I have like, I don't want to say yellow undertone. It's different than a yellow undertone. It's almost like an olive undertone to my skin. Like my skin looks green in the right light. And whenever I come across certain like gray toned bronzers, they look so weird on me. And this isn't like a super warm tone bronzer. This is definitely like, it has something in it that when it goes on my skin, just looks super weird. It looks gray, it looks muddy on me, it just doesn't look right. And I think the texture of this is really nice, the packaging of it is really nice, but I could never really get it to blend well on me, and I just hated the way I looked whenever I wore this. I have two face base products. These are both Drugstore. This is the Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage Foundation. I love the coverage of this foundation. This foundation is one of the best full coverage foundations in terms of the way it covers your skin, makes you look flawless, makes you look like a porcelain doll. It is absolutely incredible how they did that. And it's just, it looks smooth, it looks soft, it looks blurred. It's not like it looks like a mask. It actually just looks really beautiful. The problem with this is that it oxidizes so badly. This turns me like 3 shades higher on the orange scale, and it just doesn't work. And I've heard so many people say that too. So I thought maybe I would try to get another shade because I love the actual formula so much, but I don't think it's really going to work for me in any shade because it's just going to oxidize. This is the shade 120 Classic Ivory. I don't know how many shades are even below this, but anyway, it's like it has a pump. Like there's so many great things about this Maybelline foundation. If you can find a color match, you know, go get it. But I have just heard so many people say the same thing as me, is that it just oxidizes like crazy. And another product that oxidizes like crazy is this. This is from CoverGirl's brand new launch. You know, they have put out so many new products in the last little while. This is the CoverGirl Vitalist Healthy Powder. I actually love their Vitalist Healthy Foundation that came out last year. It's really, really nice. And so when they launched this powder, I thought, oh yeah, for sure, I'm going to try that. So this is just like a pressed face powder that has a little bit of coverage. You know, it has a little bit of color to it. I don't know how well you can see that, but anyway, it is so smooth. Like when you touch this, it is like just touching the belly of a puppy. You know that feeling? It's just the most wonderful soft feeling ever. But again, if I wear this on top of any foundation, it is just cake face city and oxidizes like crazy. And I've tried it with many different foundations. I tried it with the Healthy Vitalist foundation. I've tried it with other foundations, high-end, drugstore, whatever. It oxidizes in every case, so I know for sure it's the powder. Another eyeshadow palette, but this one is drugstore. This is the CoverGirl True Naked Jewels palette. They came out with a bunch of naked palettes a couple of years ago now. It's jewel tone, like it's beautiful. The tones here are really gorgeous. When you swatch it, it is really actually very nice. The purple isn't all that pigmented, but the rest of them are. Like, look at that really pretty gold. The green is gorgeous. My problem with this is that these get muddy so easily on your eyes, and not only do they get muddy, but they fade really quickly throughout the day as well. So these just don't last well for eyeshadows. And I don't really like anything eyeshadow wise that I've tried from CoverGirl, but these definitely don't really last very well. There's so many better things at the drugstore in terms of eyeshadow that you could spend your money on, because this isn't cheap for drugstore, you know what I mean? But I would definitely just avoid that because, you know, I got excited with the colors, but it really just let me down in terms of how quickly it faded on the eye and how muddy it got when wearing it. So I really haven't touched that in a long time, and when it came to decluttering it, it was not even a question. Here's a product that I was pretty excited to try. This is from Essence. It's the Cushion Eyeliner. So a lot of companies kind of jumped on the cushion train over the last couple years. Contouring, foundation, eyeliners, blushes, lots of things. So this is from Essence, a brand that I really love a lot of what they offer. I thought I would try this out. There's a little cushion in there, as you can tell, and you just kind of like mush your brush into it and you get some product on your brush to apply it. This stuff is like too watery, in the sense that when you pick it up on your brush and you apply it to the eye, it's very like when you use watercolor paints in a way, you know what I mean? Like it's very diluted, and you can't really get that opacity of black that you want when you're using a black liquid liner. Most people who use a black liquid liner want a nice thick black wing with it. You are not going to get that with this. This is just like diluted gray, and it can't even really be built up. Even if you wanted to spend the time building it up, it doesn't really work, because the brush, once you go over to a second time, kind of moves the product around underneath. So I've tried lots of eyeliners from Essence that I love, but this one is not one of them. And that brings us to the very last product that I want to talk about. This is from Becca. This is called the Soft Light Blurring Powder. I was really excited to give this a try when it came out. The packaging is very nice packaging, but it's super bulky, and it really, like, it snaps closed. It's kind of hard to open. That's not the biggest deal if the product was great, but I don't really like the product at all. So I think you can tell by looking at it, it has a pink tint to it. Now that's not really meant to bring any pinkness to your face. Like a few of you asked me in a video where I talked about this, if it could be used as a highlighter for your cheeks, and that's not really what it's about. This is for using underneath your eye to bring brightness underneath your eye, to blur and set your concealer and to bring brightness there. Now it definitely does. If I swatch this, you can see on my hand that it definitely has a brightening effect, right? Like, I think you can definitely see that. It's a little bit illuminating, a little bit brightening. Up close, you can kind of see it like settle into lines, but really the reason I don't like this is because when I use this to set my concealer, it just doesn't set my concealer. So I've tried it lightly, I've tried it heavily, and I've tried baking with it, I've tried lightly applying it. Whatever which way I use this, an hour or 2 hours after applying it, I have deep creases under my eye, like very, very deep, wherever I have those fine lines. The concealer and the powder kind of like just collect there and really just make nice, like, shout out to the world, hey, I have lots of creases under my eye. Like, that's what it does. So it sucks because the brightening effect I think does work, and especially the pink kind of cancels out slightly any darkness that you might have under your eye. I think it's a really good concept, but the powder itself just doesn't work for an under eye setting powder, so that kind of sucks. I forgot I had one last thing. It was trying to hide in my little container here. So sorry, one more thing to talk about. This is the Tarte Pro eyelash adhesive. Yeah, lash adhesive. Okay, I got this little mini in a set and I was super excited. I like trying new lash adhesives because it's one of those things where if a product can make your life that much easier, it's applying lashes is where I would want my life to be easier, you know what I mean? So I'm always excited about trying lash adhesives. The idea of having a little brush is a really good one. The glue itself is black, and the thing that I do not like about this is it is very gooey and it never fully sets. So when you put it on your lash band and you put it on your eye, it sticks well, it sticks fine, but it never fully dries. If you've tried like duo lash adhesive, that kind of latex kind, when you pull it off, like the glue, it's one piece. It's like one gluey mass that just easily comes off. But with this, it's gooey and it collects in between lashes. I've ended up pulling out my real lashes, whether I try to just like take the lash off or whether I actually like try soaking my eye with a micellar water and eye makeup remover, you know, cotton pad before I remove it. Any which way I do it, I usually pull out an eyelash or two with this. And the gooey glue never fully comes out of the lashes. Like, I've had an instance where I used this, thought I got it all out, like spent a long time trying to get all of it out, and then the next day was washing my face and I was finding more. Like, it's been on there for 24 hours. Like, it just won't come out. It's gross. I hate this stuff. This stuff should never be sold to anyone. So that's it for disappointing products for today. You know, sometimes you gotta talk about the bad. You gotta be brutally honest sometimes, and you can't always just talk about stuff you love. So if you guys love any of this stuff I hate, again, I'm actually happy that you love it, because that means that you didn't waste your money. So no hard feelings, definitely. This is just my opinion. Anyway, it is my opinion. I hope you liked it. That's it for today. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you're speaking kindly to yourself, especially when you look in the mirror. I love you guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye.